Welcome everyone to this live podcast on Twitch, where you can find the news from the research industry that how our researchers keep on researching on various topics and domains to keep our lifestyle better, of course. And this article posted on our website named postscientist.com. If you are willing to check it out, please check it out. Otherwise, listening to this podcast will be enough for you guys as it acts like an archive on the daily basis, providing you the information from the research industry. So without wasting any further time, let's get let's get started with the first topic of the day. Researchers investigate batteries without critical raw materials. The market for rechargeable batteries is growing rapidly, of course, but necessary raw materials are limited. Yes, sodium-ion battery, for example, could offer an alternative. A joint research group from HZB and Humboldt University Berlin has investigated new combination of electrolyte solution and electrode material for this purpose. In contrast to lithium ion batteries, which are based on the storage of lithium ions in the positive and negative electrodes of the battery, we are working on the one hand with sodium ions as they also occur in cheap table salt. On the other hand, we stored the sodium ion together with their solvent shell, that is solvent molecule from the electrolyte stored solution that separate the two electrodes. This make it possible to realize completely new storage reactions. Explained Professor Philip Endelm, who heads the research group Operando Battery Analysis, which are jointly founded by Humboldt University and Helmholtz Zentrum Berlin in 2020. In 2020, the storage of ions when accompanied accompanied by the solvation cell in a crystal light is referred to as SCO interaction intercalation. Us to this point, this concept was limited to the negative electrode of the sodium ion battery. Now, the researchers at Adam have succeeded in extending the concept to the positive electrode of the battery. Dr. Guillermo O. Further, the first author of the publication, explained with titanium disulfide and graphite, we have for the first time combined two materials that absorb and release the same solvent during charging and discharging of the battery. The scientists could observe changes in the material during charging and discharging via a random measurement performed in the X-ray core lab at HZB on the LEMAX 160. This helped them to assign the co-intercalation mechanism inside the battery. They could then use this new knowledge to realize a battery with two electrodes that both rely on reversible co-intercalation of solvent molecules. We are still in the early stage of understanding the implication of the co-intercalation batteries, but there are a few possible advantages we can envision. Dr. Catherine A. Mazzio, HZB, explains the processor of co-intercalation could improve upon efficiency by enabling better low temperature performance. It could also be utilized to improve upon alternative cell concepts such as using multivalent ions instead of lithium plus or sodium plus storage that are particularly sensitive to the solvation cell. The research was published in Advanced Energy Materials. Moving on towards next topic, how AI image generators could help robots. AI image generator which create fantastical sights at the intersection of dreams and reality bumble up on every corner of the web. Their environment value is demonstrated by an ever expanding treasure trove of whimsical and random images serving as indirect portals to the brains of a human designer. A simple text prompt yields a nearly instantaneous image, satisfying our primitive brains, which are hardwired for instant gratification. Although seemingly nascent, the field of AI generated art can be traced back as far as the 1960s with early attempt using symbolic rule based approaches to make technical images. While the progression of models that untangle and parse words has gained increasing sophistication, the explosion of generative art has sparked debate around copyright, disinformation, and biases, all mired in hype and controversy. Yulian Dew, a PhD student in the Department of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science and affiliate of MIT Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory CSAIL, recently developed a new method that makes models like Dell E2 more creative and have better scene understanding. Dell E basically a project which we are talking about here. Uh, we can all experience it, and also you can find it through the website of his daily not if you search it on the Google or on any other search engine, you will get able to get get to use this model, this AI model. So Dell E2. So yep. Here do you describe how the model works, whether this technical infrastructure can be applied to other domains, and how we draw the line between AI and human creativity. Of course, man. AI generated images using something stable diffusion model to turn words into astounding images in just a few moments. But for every image used, there's usually a human behind it. So what's the line between AI and human creativity? How does how do this model really work? Okay, let's see. Imagine all of the images you could get on Google search and their associated patterns. Okay, this is the diet these models are fed on. Okay, they're trained on all of these images and their caption to generate images similar to the billion of images it has seen on the internet. Okay, fine. Let's say a model has seen a lot of dog photos. It trains so that when it gets a similar text input prompt like dog, it's able to generate a photo that looks very similar to many dog pictured already seen. Now, more methodologically, how this all worked dates back to a very old class of models called energy based models originating in the 70s or 80s. In energy based models, an energy landscape over images is constructed, which is used to simulate the physical dissipation to generate images. When you drop a dot of ink into water and it dissipates, for example, at the end, you just end this uniform texture. But if you try to reverse this process of dissipation, you gradually get the original ink dot in the water again. Okay. Or let's you say you have this very intricate block tower, and if you hit it with a ball, it collapses into a pile of blocks. This pile of blocks is then very disordered, and there's not really much structure to it to resuscitate the tower. You can try to reverse this folding process to generate your original pile of blocks. The way this generative model generates images is in a very similar manner, where initially you have this really nice image, where you start from this random noise, and you basically learn how to simulate the process of how to reverse this process of going from noise back to your original image, where you try to i- interactively refine this image to make it more and more realistic, of course. In terms of what the line between AI and human creativity, you can say that these models are really trained on the creativity of people. The internet has all type of painting and images that people have already created in the past. These models are trained to recapitulate and generate the images that have been on the internet. As a result, these models are more like crystallization of what people have spent creativity on for hundreds of years. At that same time, because these models are trained on what humans have designed, they can generate very similar pieces of art what humans have done in the past. They can find pattern in art people have made, but it's much harder for this model to actually generate creative photos on their own. If you try to prompt a like abstract art or a unique art or the like, it doesn't really understand the creative aspect of human art. The models are rather recapitulating what people have done in the past, so to speak, as opposed to generating fundamentally new and creative art. I mean, great man, great. Since these models are trained on vast worth of images from the internet, a lot of these images are likely copyrighted. You don't exactly know what the model is retrieving when it's generating new images. So there's a big question of how you can even determine if the model is using copyrighted images. If the model depends in some sense on some copyrighted images or then those new images copyrighted. That's another question to address. Do you believe images generated by diffusion models encode some sort of understanding about natural or physical worlds, either dynamically or geometrically? Are the efforts toward teaching image generator the basic of the universe that babies learn so early on? Do they understand and encode some grasp of natural physical worlds? I think definitely. If you ask a model to generate a stable configuration of blocks, it definitely generates a block configuration that's stable. If you tell it generate an unstable configuration of blocks, it does look very unstable. Or if you say a tree next to a lake, it's roughly able to generate that. In a sense, it seems like the model have captured a large aspect of common sense, but the issue that make us still very far away from truly understanding the natural and physical world is that when you try to generate infrequent combination of words that you or I in our working, our minds can very easily imagine, these models cannot. For example, if you say put a fork on top of a plate, that happens all the time. If you ask a model to generate this, it easily can. If you say put a plate on top of a fork, again, it's very easy for us to imagine what this would look like. But if you put this into any of these large models, you will never get a plate on the top of a fork. You instead get a fork on top of a plate since the models are learning to recapitulate all of the images it's been trained on. It can't really generalize that well to combination of word it hasn't seen. A fairly well-known example is an astronaut riding a horse, which the model can do with ease. But if you say a horse riding an astronaut, it still generate a person riding a horse. It seems like these models are capturing a lot of correlations in the data set they are trained on, but they are not actually capturing the underlying causal mechanism of the world. Another example that commonly used is if you get very complicated text description like one object to the right of another one, the third object in the front and the third or fourth one flying, it really is only able to satisfy maybe one or two of the objects. This could be partially because of the training data, as it's rare to have very complicated caption, but it could also suggest that these models aren't very structured. You can imagine that if you get very complicated natural language prompts, there's no manner in which the model can accurately represent all the component details. You recently came up with new method that uses multiple models to create more complex images with better understanding for generate generative art are there potential application of this framework outside of the image or test domains. We were really inspired by one of the limitations of these models. And you give these models very complicated scene description. They aren't actually able to correctly generate images that match them. One thought is since it's single model with a fixed computational graph, meaning you can only use a fixed amount of computation to generate an image. If you get an extremely complicated prompt, there is no way you can use more computational power to generate that image. If I gave a human a description of a scene that was say 100 lines long versus a scene that one lifelong, a human artist can spend much longer on the former. These models don't really have the sensibility to do this. We propose then that given very complicated prompts, you can actually compose many different independent models together and have each individual model represent a portion of the scene you want to describe. We find that the enables our model to generate more complicated scene or those that more accurately generate different aspects of the scene together. In addition, this approach can be generally applied across a variety of different domains. While image generation is likely the most currently successful application, generative models have actually been seeing all types of application in a variety of domains. You can use them to generate different diverse robot behavior, synthesize 3D shapes, enable better scene understanding, or design new materials. You could potentially compose multiple desired factors to generate the exact material you need to for a particular application. One thing we have been very interested in is so robotics. In the same way that you can generate different images, you can also generate different robot trajectories, the path and schedule, and by composing different models together, you are able to generate trajectories with different combination of scales. If I have natural language specification of jumping versus avoiding an obstacle, you could also compose these models together and then generate robot trajectories that can both jump and avoid an obstacle. In a similar manner, if we want to design proteins, we can specify different function or aspects in an analogous manner to how we use language to specify the content of these images with language like description, such as the type or functionality of the protein. We could then compose these together to generate new protein that can potentially satisfy all these given functions. We have also explored using diffusion models on 3D shape generation, where you can use this approach to generate and design 3D assets. Normally, 3D asset design is a very complicated and laborious process. By composing different models together, it becomes much easier to generate shapes such as I want a 3D shape with 4 legs with this style and height, potentially automating portion of 3D asset design. So these are the understanding, these are the study, those which use this AI image generates and could help us to generate those images through the pictures available on the internet. Moving on towards next topic, novel thin and flexible sensor characterize high-speed airflows on curved surfaces. The energy and transportation sector often make use of different kinds of fluid machinery, including pumps, turbines, and air cargo engines, all of which entail a high carbon footprint. This results mainly from inefficiency in the fluid machinery caused by flow separation around curved surfaces, which are typically quite complex in nature. To improve the efficiency of fluid machinery, one therefore needs to characterize near wall flow on the curved surface to suppress this flow separation. The challenge is accomplishing this is multifold. First, conventional flow sensors are not flexible enough to fit into curved walls of fluid machinery. Second, existing flexible sensors suitable for curved surfaces cannot detect the fluid angle direction of flow. Moreover, these sensors are limited to only detecting flow separation at speed less than 30 meter per second. In a new study, Professor Moshario Matsuko from the Tokyo University of Science, thus in Japan, and his colleague Mr. Koichi Murakami, Dr. Daiki Shiraishi, and Dr. Yoshiyasu Ichikawa from the TUS in collaboration with Mitsubishi Heavy Industry Japan and Iwaite University Japan took on this challenge. As Professor Matsuge states, sensing the shear stress and its reduction on curved surfaces where flow separation easily occurs has been difficult to achieve, in particular without using a novel technique. Their work was published in Micro Machines. The team in their study developed a polyimide thin film based flexible flow sensor that can be easily installed on curved surfaces without disturbing the surrounding airflow, a key requirement for efficient measurement. To enable this, the sensor was based on microelectromechanical system MEMS technology. Moreover, the novel design allowed multiple sensors to be integrated for stimulus measurement of the wall shear stress and flow angle on the surface of the wall. To measure the shear stress on the wall, the sensor measured the heat loss from a microheater, while the flow angle was estimated using an array of 6 temperature sensors around the heater that facilitated multi-directional measurement. The team conducted numerical simulation of the airflow to optimize the geometry of the heater and sensor arrays. Using a high-speed airflow tunnel as the testing environment, the team achieved effective flow measurement with wide range of airflow speed from 30 to 170 meter per second. The developed sensor demonstrated both high flexibility and scalability. The circuits around the sensor can be pulled out using a flexible printed circuit board and installed in a different location so that only a thin sheet is attached to the measurement target, minimizing the effect on the surrounding flow, says Professor Matsuki. The team estimated the heater output to vary as the one-third power of the wall shear stress, while the sensor output comparing the temperature differences between two oppositively placed sensors demonstrated a peculiar sinusoidal oscillation as the flow angle was changed. The developed sensor has the potential for a wide range of application in industrial scale fluid machinery that often involve complex flow separation around three-dimensional surfaces. Moreover, the working principle used to develop this sensor can be extended beyond high-speed subsonic airflows. Although the sensor is designed for fast airflows, we are currently developing sensors that measure liquid flow and can be attached to human based on the same principle. Such thin and flexible flow sensor can open up many possibilities, says Professor Mutsuke. Taken together, the novel MEMS sensor could be a game changer in the development of efficient fluid machineries with reduced detrimental effects on our environment. Moving on towards next topic, electrons with Plancanian scattering in strange metal follow standard rules of orbital motion in a magnet. Strange metals or non-Fermi liquids are distinct shades of matter that have been observed in different quantum materials, including cuprate superconductor. These states are characterized by unusual conducting properties such as a resistivity that is linearly associated with temperature T linear. In the strange metal phase of metal, electrons undergo what is known as Plancanian dissipation, a high scattering rate that linearly increasing as the temperature rises. The T linear strong electron scattering is anomalous for metal, which typically present a quadratic temperature dependence T2 as predicted by the standard theory of metals. Researchers at Université de Sherbrooke in Canada, Laboratoire National des Champs magneticus intenses in France and other institutes worldwide have recently carried out a study exploring the possibility that the resistivity of strained metal is not only associated with temperature but also with an applied magnetic field. This magnetic field reunited had been previously observed in some cuprates and pin, uh, pentads, with some physicists suggesting that it could also be linked to Planckian dissipation. The researchers carried out their experiments on two specific cuprate strained metal, namely ND0.4 La 1.6x SRX CuO4 and LA2 SRX CuO4. Their finding published in Nature Physics suggests that the resistivity of these two strained metal is consistent with the prediction of the standard Boltzmann theory of electron motion in a magnetic field in all ways, highlighting no anomaly associated with Planckian dissipation. We want to investigate the field dependence of Planckian scattering rate in the strained metal phase of couplet superconductor, in particular in NDLC LSCO. That scattering rate was previously measured with angle dependence magnetoresistant ADMR experiments. Amizuda et al., one of the researchers who carried out the study, told physics.org, in this material, due to relatively low critical temperature (TC), we had access to one of the largest measured ranges of bilinear resistivity and were able to reproduce the magnetro resistance over the magnetic field range using the standard Boltzmann theory. A key objective of the recent work by Atai and his colleagues was to determine whether and the in-plane magnetorized resistance in the strange metal phase of, namely ND0.4 La 1.6 X SRX CuO4 and La SRX CuO4 was analom anomalous in instance where the magnetic field and electric current were in parallel. Ultimately, the measurement they collected suggest that it was not. We expect our finding to have a big impact in the field of Planckian dissipation, a major mystery in condensed matter physics with intriguing connection to the physics of black holes. As I explained, be sure that this enigmatic phenomena is insensitive to magnetic field up to 85 T, one of the highest achievable magnetic field in the world. Overall, the result gathered by this team of researchers would seem to challenge the hypothesis that the linear dependence of resistivity on a magnetic field observed in some strained metal is associated with Planckian dissipation. In contrast, the experimental data suggests that Planckian dissipation, this is only anomalous in this temperature dependence, while its field dependence is aligned with standard theoretical predictions. We now plan to extend the scope of the research to different quantum materials in the strange metal phase or in its proximity, at I added. Moving on towards next topic, an automated system to clean restrooms in convenience stores. Researchers at Tokyo Metropolitan University have created a robotic system that could automate the clearing of restrooms in convenience stores and other public spaces. This system, introduced in paper published in Advanced Robotics, will be competing in the Future Convenience Store Challenge (FCSC) at the World Robot Summit WRS, a competition for state-of-the-art technologies to automate convenience stores. Many convenience stores provide restroom for customers, and restroom cleaning is an essential part of the businesses. Kunzio Shibata, One of the researchers who developed the system told Tech Explode, while restroom cleaning is necessary for sanitary purposes, it involves mental and physical hard work. Clothes are often inappropriate for cleaning toilets in convenience stores and maintaining consistent cleanliness levels is difficult because of the different perception of cleanliness among clerks. The WR established the FCSC competition to encourage the development of new technology that can enhance efficiency in our convenience stores. Robotic systems that can autonomously clean restrooms and toilets could particularly help to improve hygiene while simplifying the work of shop clerks and convenience store cleaners. Our system will complete in the FCSC with a view to applying it in real setting in the future. Wada said the system consists of a toilet bowl, top surface cleaning mechanism, toilet bowl, lifting mechanism, and a restroom floor cleaning robot. By robotizing the restroom space itself, the system aims to streamline the cleaning operation and achieve accurate cleaning in a short time, less than 20s. While the researcher system is cleaning a restroom, toilet bowls are automatically raised and floored. Cleaning mechanism stored behind the bowl moved to the area in front of the toilets. Subsequently, a cleaning tool with water absorbing sheet is deployed and water starts wiping the floor and sides of the toilet's bowl while simultaneously collecting any garbage on the floor. As cleaning the tool cleans the floor, a device built into back of the toilet seat cleans the toilet rim. The most unique feature of the system is that it uses a mechanism that allows the toilet bowl to be raised or lowered. Water said the toilet bowl is lifted to the height of a man crouch to reduce the scattering of urine and create space and floor cleaning. Wada and his colleague tested the system in a series of experiments where it was expected to clean fake urine and garbage. They found that it performed remarkably well, completing individual cleaning tasks in approximately 70s and removing 97.8% of the urine-like liquid. In the future, the researchers hope that their system will be commercialized and implemented in real convenience stores. In addition, the toilet bowl lifting mechanism they designed could inspire the creation of similar restroom cleaning system. We believe that our work could lead to the development of new market of the for toilet spaces with cleaning systems. Wada said, in our current system, the cleaning equipment is replaced with every cleaning, which is unrealistic for actual store use. To address this issue, we now plan to implement a function that allows cleaning equipment to be cleaned each time or replaced with a new one in the future. Moving on to our next topic. Light analyzing lab ownership opens door to widespread use of portable spectrometers. Scientists, including an Oregon State University material researchers, have developed a better tool to measure light, contributing to a field known as optical spectrometry in a way that could improve everything from smartphone camera to environmental monitoring. The study published today in Science was led by Finland Aalto University and resulted in a powerful ultra tiny spectrometer that fits on a microchip and is operating using artificial intelligence. The research involved a comparatively new class of super thin material known as two-dimensional semiconductors, and the upshot is a proof of concept for a spectrometer that could readily incorporate into a variety of technologies, including quality inception platforms, security sensors, biomedical analyzers, and space telescopes. We have demonstrated a way of building spectrometers that are far more miniature than what is typically used today, said Ethan Minot, a professor of physics in the OSU College of Science. Spectrometer measures the strength of light at different wavelengths and are super useful in lots of industry and all fields of science for identifying sample and characterizing materials. Traditional spectrometers required bulky optical and mechanical components, whereas the new device could fit on the end of a human hair. Minot said the new researchers said that those components can be replaced with novel semiconductor material and AI, allowing spectrometers to be dramatically scaled down in size from the current smallish ones, which are about the size of a grape. Our spectrometer doesn't require assembling separate optical and mechanical components or, or add a design to disperse and filter light, said Hoon Han Yoon, who led the study with Aalto University colleague Xingpeng Sun Yoon. Moreover, it can achieve a high resolution comparable to benchtop system but in a much smaller package. The device is 100% electric controllable regarding the color of light it absorbs, which gives it massive potential for scalability and widespread usability, the researcher says. Integrating it directly into portable devices such as smartphones and drones could advance our daily lives, Yoon said. Imagine that the next generation of our smartphone cameras could be hyperspectral spectral cameras. Those hyperspectral cameras could capture and analyze information not just from visible wavelength but also allow for infrared imaging and analysis. It's exciting that our spectrometer open a possibility for all sort of new everyday gadgets and instruments to do new science as well. Minot said. In medicine, for example, spectrometers are already being tested for their ability to identify subtle changes in human tissues, such as the difference between tumors and healthy tissues. For environmental monitoring, Minot added, spectrometer can detect exactly what kind of pollution is in the air, water, or ground, and how much of it is there. It would be nice to have low cost portable spectrometer doing this work for us, he said. And in the educational setting, the head on teaching of science concept would be more effective with inexpensive compact spectrometers. Application abound as well for science oriented hobbyists. Minot said, if you are into astronomy, you might be interested in measuring the spectrum of light that you collect with your telescopes and having the that information identify a star or planet. He said, if geology in your hobby, you could identify gemstones or measuring the spectrum of light they observe. May not think let us work with no two-dimensional semiconductor progresses. We will be rapidly discovering new ways to use their novel optical and electronic properties. Research into 2D semiconductor has been going on in earnest for only a dozen years, starting with the study of graphene, carbon arranged in a honeycomb lattice with a thickness of one atom. It's really exciting, Minot said. I believe we will continue to have interesting breakthrough by studying two-dimensional semiconductor. In addition to Minot, Yoon and Sun, the collaboration included scientists from Shanghai Jiang Tong University, Zhejiang University, Siochen University, Yonsei University and University of Cambridge, as well as other researchers from Aalto University. Moving on to our next topic, heat waves driven by climate change have cost global economy trillions since the 1990s. Massive economic losses due to sweltering temperature brought on by humans caused climate change are not just a problem for the distant future. A study in the journal Science Advances has found that more severe heat waves resulting from global warming have already cost the world economy trillions of dollars since the Since the early 1990s, with the world poorest and lowest carbon emitting nation suffering the most. Dartmouth College researchers combined newly available in-depth economic data that regions worldwide with the average temperature of the hottest 5-day period, commonly used measurement of heat intensity for each region in each year. They found that from 1990 to 2013 heat waves statistically coincided with variation in economic growth that an estimate $16 trillion $16 trillion economy not economy $16 trillion was lost to the efforts of high temperature on human health, productivity, and agricultural output. The findings stress the immediate need for policies and technologies that protect people during the hottest period of the year, particularly in the world's warmest, most economically vulnerable nation. The researcher report accelerating adaptation measures within the hottest period of each year would deliver economic benefits now, said first author Christopher Callahan, a doctoral candidate in geography at Dartmouth. The amount of money spent on adaptation measures should not be accessed just on the price tag of those measures, but related to the cost of doing nothing. Our researcher our research identify a substantial price tag to do to not doing anything. The study is among the first to specifically examine how heat waves affect economic output, said senior author Justin Mankin, an assistant professor of geography at Dartmouth. No one has shown an independent fingerprint for the extreme heat and intensity of that heat impact on economic growth. The true costs of climate change are far higher than we have calculated so far, Mencken said. Our work showed that no place is well adapted to our current climate, Mencken said. The regions with the lowest income globally are, are the ones that suffer most from these extreme heat events. As climate change increases the magnitude of extreme heat, it's a fair expectation that those costs will continue to accumulate. Climate model and previous research have included heat waves among other extreme events resulting from climate change, such as more frequent flooding and greater storm intensity. Kalkan said, but heat waves have a unique signature, he said. They occur on shorter timescales than droughts, and the temperature on the hottest days of the year are projected to increase much quicker than the global average temperature as human activity continues to drive climate change. Heat waves are one of the most direct and tangible effects of climate change that people feel, yet they have not been fully integrated into our assessment of what climate change has caused and will cause in the future. Callan said, we live in a world that has already been altered by greenhouse gas emission. I think our research helped demonstrate that. The study result underscored issue of climate justice and inequality. Mankind and Callan said the economic cost of extreme heat as well as the expense of adaptation have been and will be disproportionality borne by the world poorest nation in the tropics and global south. Most of these countries have contributed the least to climate change. The researcher found that while economic losses due to extreme heat events average 1.5% of gross domestic product GDP per capita for the world, wealthiest region, low income region suffered a loss of 6.7% of GDP per capita. Furthermore, the study revealed that to a certain point, wealthy subnational region in Europe and North America, which are among the world's biggest carbon emitters, could be theoretical benefit economically by having periods of warmer days. We have a situation where the people causing global warming and changes in extreme heat have more resources to be resilient to the changes, to those changes, and in some rare cases, could benefit from it. Mankin said, "It's a massive international wealth transfer from the poorest countries in the world to the richest countries in the world through climate change, and that transfer need to be reversed." In July, Mankin and Callan published a paper in the journal Climate Change that assessed the economic damage individual countries have caused to others by their contribution to climate warming. The study presented the scientific basis nations need to access their legal standing for claiming economic damages due to emission and warming. In this latest publication, Mankind and Callan indicate that the world principal emitters should foot a large portion of the bill for adapting to extreme heat events, in addition to helping low income nations to develop low emission income economies in the global economy. Sharing the cost of adaptation measures would benefit wealthy and developing nations alike. Mencken said almost no country on earth have benefited from the extreme heat that has occurred. Mencken said global events like the COVID-19 pandemic have revealed the close interconnectedness of the supply chain and the global economy. Low income countries have disproportionate number of outdoor workers who often generate the raw materials so crucial to the global supply chain. There is absolutely the potential of upward ripple effects. The paper Globally Unequal Effect of Extreme Heat on Economic Growth was published October 28, 2022 in Science Advances. Moving on towards next topic, the conspiracy okay, I mean, in the last article we have the discussion given about the economy, that how the heat waves can be affect the global economy in trillions since the 1990s by the global emission, of course, and I mean sustained on the natural sources instead of experimental sources or artificial sources. Otherwise, it's going to be more scourge and sulfur, those things, more emitting those things. So, yep, these are the studies. These are the studies given on this subject, on this object. So, yep. Moving on towards next topic. The conspiracy theorist worldview and the language of the argument. Once again, let's see. A study now published in Scientific Advances has analyzed the difference between mainstream and conspiracy articles. It found that consi- conspiracies rely on other conspiracies as evidence, jumping around different topics less coherently than mainstream tests, but relying on a web of interconnected ideas to connect the dots. As an example, the conspiracy theories surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic are often associated with other conspiracies, including those relating to JFK assassination, Bill Gates, and drug companies. They support the idea of a conspiracy worldview that those who are inclined to believe in a particular conspiracy will likely believe in many others and use them as evidence to support their arguments. What's more, while conspiracy theorists encourage open debate about conspiracies such as that Princess Diana's death was either faked or that she was killed by an insider, they tend to refute counter arguments for mainstream accounts such as that her death was a tragic accident. The research was led by Professor Thomas Hills of the University of Warwick Department of Psychology and Alexandra Mine and Professor Adrian Bangoter at the University of near Chettle, Switzerland. The team analyzed thousands of conspiracy parasists and mainstream web pages using natural language processing, a type of computer analysis of human language. They compared mainstream and cons- conspiracist writing on the same topics. University of Warwick Professor Thomas Hales said the study is groundbreaking as it is the first to look at the language of conspiracy theories in such a large dataset of thousands of articles. It helped identify what makes a conspiracy theory part of the conspiracy worldview. The implication of the findings speak to topical events such as the COVID-19 pandemic, vaccine uptake, and the apparent rise of misinformation. We can see the potential disastrous consequences of a constant worldview on society, such as less people taking up the COVID-19 vaccines. Conspiracy theories are on a spectrum of misinformation, and to combat them, we have to understand how they work. Of course, man, of course. So these are the findings, these are the study given by our scientists on the psychologies, on the conspiracy theory, that how these things really works and how we don't want to bother, and some at point want to bother on the evidence itself, not on the on your brain, not of course not of course on your brain, or what we called in this new in real world nowadays a gut feeling, not always focuses on the gut feeling, also responsible on the evidence providing to you, and of course those things. So okay, moving on to our next topic. NASA inside lander detect stunning meteoroid impacts on Mars. Okay. NASA inside lander recorded a magnitude 4th Mars quake last December 24th, but scientists learned only later the cause of that quake. Meteoroid strike estimated to be one of the biggest seen on Mars since NASA began exploring the cosmos. What's more, the meteoroid excavated boulder-sized chunks of ice buried closer to the Martian equator than ever found before the discovery, with implication for NASA's future plan to send astronauts to the red planet. Scientists determined the quake resulted from a meteoroid impact when they looked at before and after images from NASA Mars reconnaissance orbiter MRO and spotted a few yawning craters, offering a rare opportunity to see how a large impact shook the ground on Mars. The event and its effects are detailed in two papers published Thursday, October 27th in the journal Science. The meteorite is estimated to have spanned 16 to 39 feet, 5 to 12 meters, small enough that it would have burned up in Earth's atmosphere, but not in Mars' thin atmosphere, which is just 1% as dense as our planet. The impact in our region called Ama- Amazonian's Planeta blasted a crater roughly 492 feet 150 meters across and 70 feet 21 meters deep. Some of the ejecta thrown by the impact flew as far as 23 miles 37 kilometers away. While the images and seismic data documenting the event, this is believed to be one of the largest craters ever witnessed forming any place in the solar system. Many larger craters exist on the red planet, but they are significantly older and predate any Mars mission. It's unprecedented to find a fresh impact of this size, said Ingrid Daubert of Brown University, who leads Inside Impact Science of Working Group. It's an exciting moment in geologic history, and we got to witness it. Inside has seen its power drastically declined in recent movement due to dust settling on its solar panel. The spacecraft now is expected to shut down within the next 6 weeks, bringing the mission science to an end. Inside in studying the planet clutch, mantle and core seismic waves are key to the mission and have revealed the size, the depth, and composition of Mars' inner layers since landing in November 2018. Inside has detected 1,318 Mars quakes, including several caused by smaller meteoroid impacts. But the quake resulting from last December impact was the first observed to have surface waves, a kind of seismic wave that ripples along the top of planet's crust. The second of the two science papers related to the Big Impact described how scientists use these waves to study the structure of Mars crust. Crater hunters. In the late 2021, Inside scientists reported to the rest of the team they had detected a major Mars quake on December 24th. The crater was first spotted on February 11, 2022 by scientists working at Malin Space Science System (MSSS), which builds and operates two camera abroad MRO. The context camera CTX provides black and white medium resolution images, while the Mars colored imager Mars CI produces daily maps of the entire planet, allowing scientists to track large scale weather changes like the recent regional dust storm that further diminished inside solar panel. That impact blast zone was visible in Mars CI data that allowed the team to pin down a 24-hour period within which the impact occurred. These observations correlated with the seismic epicenter, conclusively demonstrating that a meteorite impact caused a large December 24th Mars quake. The image of the impact was likely any I had seen before, with a massive crater exposed eyes and dramatic blast zone preserved in the Martian dust, said Lilia Pozlova, who leads the orbital science and operation group at MSSS. I couldn't help but imagine what it must has been have been like to witness the impact the atmospheric blast and debris ejected miles downrange. Establishing the rate at which craters appeared on Mars is critical for defining the planet's geological timeline. On older surfaces such as those Mars and our moon, there are more craters than on Earth. On our planet, the process of erosion and planet and plate tectonics. It is older featured from the surface. New craters who are New crater also expose material below the surface. In this case, large chunks of ice scattered by the impact were viewed by MRO's high-resolution imaging science experiment HI RISE colored image. Surface ice will be a vital resource for astronauts who could use it for a variety of needs, including drinking water, agriculture, and rocket propellant. Buried ice has never been spotted this close to the Martian equator, which, as the warmest part of the Mars, is an appealing location for astronauts. Moving on towards next topic. Moving on towards next topic. Artificial intelligent molecule machine join forces to generalize automated chemistry. Okay, let's see. Artificial intelligence building block chemistry and molecule making machine teamed up to find the best general reaction condition for synthesizing chemical important to biomedical material research, a finding that could speed innovation and drug discovery as well as make complex chemistry automated and accessible. With the machine generator optimized condition, the research at the University of Illinois had a campaign and collaborated in Poland and Canada, doubled the average yield of a special hard to optimize type of reaction linking carbon atom together in pharmaceutically important molecule. The researchers say their system provides a platform that also could be used to find general condition for other classes of reaction and solution for similarly complex problem. They reported their findings in the journal Science. Generally is critical for automation and thus making molecular innovation accessible even to non-chemists, said study co-leader Dr. Martin D. Budke, an Illinois professor of chemistry and head of the Illinois College of Medicine, as well as medical doctor. The challenge is the hashtag of possible reaction condition is astronomically and the needle is hidden somewhere inside. By leveraging the power of artificial intelligence and building block chemistry to create a feedback loop, we were able to shrink the haystack and we found the needle. Automated synthesis machine for protein, nucleic acid, such as DNA, have revolutionized research and chemical manufacturing in those fields, but many chemicals of importance for pharmaceutical, clinical manufacturing and material application as small molecules with complex structure, the researcher says. Brooks Group has pioneered the development of simple chemical building blocks for smaller molecules. His lab also developed an automated molecule making machine that snaps together the building block to create a wide range of possible structures. However, general reaction conditions to make the automated process broadly applicable have remained elusive. Traditionally, chemists customize the reaction condition for each product they are trying to make. Burke said, the problem is that this is a slow and very specialized dependent processor and very hard to automate because the machine would have to be optimized every time. What we really want are conditions that work almost every time, no matter what two things you have trying to snap together. An automated approach with a generalized condition could help standardize how some products are made, addressing the problem of reproducibility, said Illinois postdoctoral researcher Vandana Rathod, a co-first author of the study. Burke Group teamed up with a group led by Branskov A. Grinzebowski at the Polish Academy of Sciences Institute for Organic Chemistry, as well as a group of Alan Aspiro Gusick at the University of Toronto. Both leaders is using artificial intelligence and machine learning to improve chemical synthesis. The team integrated AI with the molecule machine to provide real-time feedback to the machine learning system. To distinguish good and bad, you need to know something about the bad, but people only publish the successes. Grosbowski said published studies reflect conditions that are popular or convenient rather than the best. So a systematic approach that included our data and negative result was necessary, he said. First, the team ran the entire matrix of possible combination using the building block chemistry through an algorithm to group together similar reaction. Then the AI said instruction inputted to machine in the molecule maker lab located in the Beckman Institute for Advanced Science and Technology at Illinois to produce representative reaction from each cluster. The information from those reactions fed back into the model. The AI learned from the data and ordered more experiments from the molecule machine We were looking to see two things: an increase in yield and a decrease in uncertainty for a broad spectrum of reaction, said Grosbowski, who now is at Ulsan Institute of Science and Technology in South Korea. This loop continued without us having to intervene until the problem was solved. Figuring out the generalized condition for the protein synthesis machine took 30 years. This took us 2 months. Moving on to the next topic, the process identifies condition that doubles the average yield of a challenging class of reactions. Could heteroaryl Suzuki Miura coupling crucial for more biological materials relevant compounds? There are all kinds of building block combination that we didn't even study in our AR training. But because the AI had explored such as diverse space, it found good result even in those initially unexplored areas, said Illinois graduate student Nicholas H. Anglo, co-first author of the study. The machine learning process described in the paper also could be applied to other broad areas of chemistry to find the best reaction condition for other types of small molecules or even larger organic polymers, the researchers say. There are so many different material classes that we want to know, target and discover for different functional properties. The extension possibility of this approach to other similarly reaction chemistry, other types of carbon-carbon links is exciting, said study co-author Charles M. Scroll Reader, an Illinois professor of material science and engineering and chemical and biomolecular engineering and a Beckman Institute affiliate. Moving on towards next topic. Study reveals sharp rise in stroke cases among young adults in Oxfordshire. New researcher has shown a sharp increase in the incidence of stroke in young adults in a study of more than 94,000 people in Oxfordshire. Stroke is a major health problem that can have devastating consequences. It happens when the blood supply to the brain is cut off, causing the death of brain cells. Dysfunction in one or more parts of the brain. The restricted blood supply can be a result of an artery supplying blood to brain becoming blocked, a blood vessel rupturing causing a bleed inside the brain, or a brief reduction in the blood supply to the brain. Finding from this new study, which analyzed the rate of new stroke cases in Oxfordshire over the last 20 years, reflect emerging evidence that young stroke is a growing problem in high income countries. The traditional view is that vascular risk factors such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and obesity play a minor role in young stroke, but recent studies have begun to contradict this view. Thanks to a research fellowship from the Foundation, Dr. Linson Lee from the University of Oxford is investigating the role of these treatable risk factors in young stroke. Dr. Lee research focuses on multiple types of stroke, such as ischemic strokes caused by a blockage of arteries, mini stroke, transient ischemic attacks, and bleeding in the brain, intracerebral hemorrhage, and subarachnoid hemorrhage. This new study, led by researchers from the Nuffield Department of Clinical Neuroscience at the University of Oxford, is published in a recent issue of the journal JAMA. The researcher explored whether stroke incidence in younger and older people changed from 2002 to 2018, drawing on data from the Oxford Vascular Study, which comprises 94,467 people registered with GP practices across Oxfordshire, incidence refer to the number of people who develop a specific disease or health related event in the case stroke during a particular time period. The research also took into account other factors such as lifestyles, changes in diagnostic practices, control of traditional vascular risk factor, and sex specific causes of stroke. They found that between 2002 to 2010 and 2010 to 2018, there was a 67% increase in stroke incidence among younger adults under 55 years and a 15% decrease among older adults 55 years or old. A similar divergence is in incidence was not found for other vascular events such as heart attacks. Among young people who had a stroke, there was a significant increase in the proportion could work in a more skilled occupation, but particularly for professional or managerial, managerial jobs. This could suggest a role for work related stress, low physical activity, and long working hours, each of which were more strongly associated with risk of stroke than heart attack. The prevalence of traditional vascular risk factor in young people with stroke was also high, emphasizing the importance of identifying and managing these risk factors. A linked paper in the October issue of JAMA Neurology by the same author showed similar divergent trends across other high income countries in the 21st century, with a fall in incidence at older ages not being seen at younger ages. Medical Research Foundation fellow Dr. Linson Lee from the University of Oxford said our study shows worrying rise in young stroke cases across Oxfordshire, reflecting a similar picture across other high income countries. Establishing the importance of non risk factor in young stroke will help to raise general awareness of the study for better control. We also need better ways of identifying young people at high risk of stroke, as a current risk model are based on predictors of stroke in older people. Dr. Angela Hind, chief executive of the Medical Research Foundation, said historically we have thought of stroke as only affecting older adults, but studies like this suggest a growing problem in young adults. Stroke in young adults can have a huge impact, often occurring when they are starting a family or already have young children to look after and have yet to reach the peak of their careers. The economic, social, and personal consequences can be devastating. More research needs to be done to increase understanding of the causes of young stroke and the best ways of preventing it. This is why we are supporting researchers like Dr. Lee, who was pushing forward the boundaries of knowledge surrounding young stroke. Moving on to our next topic, topological near field generated by topological structures. Metamaterial meta optics offered a broad dimension to explore exotic functionalities in physics and optics in a new report now published in Science Advances. Jia Peng and a team of scientists in physics and interdisciplinary studies at the University of Hong Kong, China, discovered how the topology of structures can dictate the properties of optical field to offer a new dimension of exploration optic functionalities. The non-trivial topology of metal structures facilitated the birth of polarization singularities, and the outcome of the study bridged singular optics, topological photonics, or non-Hermitian physics for application across channel sensing, quantum optics, and photonics, a universal connection between topology and optical structures. The concept of topology can provide new perspectives for physicists to explore unconventional properties of one-way edge states in topological insulator and their counterparts. The distribution of polarization, which ellipses can form topological artifacts known as polarization singularities, which emerge during applications such as light focusing, scattering, and interference in nanostructure, including matter surface and photonic crystal. The geometry of optical structure can still desert the local resonance of the optical modes to give rise to new optical devices, including nano antennas, metamaterials, and meta surfaces. In this work, Pang et al. Established a universal and exact connection between topology and optical structures to reveal how the origin and topological evolution of magnetic polarization in the near fields were bound by the topology and symmetry of the structure. Polarization singularity is protected by surface topology by of structures. The team conducted full wave numerical simulation of the system by using a finite element package via COMSOL multiphysics. During the experiment, they consider a metal sphere under the incidence of a plane propagating in the z direction with a magnetic field linearly polarized in the y direction. They then determined polarization singularity emerging in the total magnetic field. Pang and then a team further sought to understand the underlying basis of the morphologies of PSLs, which they found in topological property associated with the geometry of metal sphere. For example, the excitation of incidence electromagnetic field induced current in metal structure mainly localized in a thin surface layer of the structures. The study outcome established a direct link between the topology of optical structure and topological properties of optical near fields. Applicable for the arbitrary metal structure with smooth geometric surface and small skin depth. The emergence of polarization singularities were further protected by the topology of the structure. Therefore, their properties were robust against continued variation of the geometric structures. Topology and middle symmetry of versus topology and generalized rational if they were regularly breeding with Homo sapiens, which could have eroded their population until they disappeared. The first encounter of Netherland, Neanderthals and Homo sapiens. Neanderthal and Homo sapiens diverged from each other around 600,000 years ago, evolved in every different areas of the world. Fossils of Neanderthals have been found across Europe and Asia, reaching as far as, far as southern Siberia. It is believed they spent at least 400,000 years evolving in this environment, adapting to predominantly cooler climate than is found today. Meanwhile, the ancestor of our own species evolved in Africa. It is currently uncertain whether Homo sapiens are the direct descendants of one group of ancient African hominids or are the result of mixing between different groups spread across the continent. From genetic data, it looks like two species first encountered each other when Homo sapiens began making occasional forays out of Africa about 250,000 years ago. Without knowing exactly what Neanderthals looked or behaved like, we can only speculate what Homo sapiens would have thought of their relatives, Chris says. The language differences could probably have been greater than we could imagine given the time depth of the separation and would have been much larger than those between any modern languages. The larger the language barrier may have been reinforced by the individual attributes of both species, with the comparison of Neanderthal and Homo sapiens suggesting that the brain and vocal apparatus of this species were different. The genomes and Neanderthals also show that almost 600 genes were expressed differently between our species and theirs, particularly those associated with the face and voice. Another prominent difference would have been the forehead, with Neanderthal processing a prominent brow ridge that could have been used for social communication. However, the signal these ridges were trying to convey could well have been lost on our ancestors. Some studies suggest that reduced brow ridges allowed allowed Homo sapiens to turn instead to the eyebrows to convey a range of subtler temporary signals. In our event, the encounter eventually led to breeding between both species, but exactly how this occurred is about shrouded in mystery. Neanderthal and Homo sapien interbreeding. We know that a species interbred with the Neanderthals since our relative first genomes were sequenced. However, the Neanderthal genes we have in us today are not the result of these easy early sporadic interaction Homo sapiens had when they first left Africa. Instead, they come from the much larger migration that modern humans undertook around 60,000 years ago. Interbreeding at this time may have been the result of mutual courtship or could have been less friendly encounters between separate groups of our closest living relatives. Chimpanzees show evidence of both behaviors. Whether or not interbreeding was successful appeared to depend on the exact pair that was breeding. So far, there is no evidence of Homo sapiens genetics in late Neanderthal genomes dating to between 40 to 16,000 years ago. It is possible that is due to the process of hybridization itself, as some species are only capable of producing offspring in certain directions. For instance, pollen from the Capsula rubella plant can successfully fertilize Capsula Grand Philora seed, but not the other way around. The lack of mitochondrial DNA, which is inherited through females from Neanderthals in living humans, has been suggested as evidence that only made Neanderthal and female Homo sapien could mate, but there is also some evidence that male hybrids may have been less fertile than females, with fewer Neanderthals breeding with each other and group sizes already small and scattered during the environment. Hybridization outside of the Neanderthal family groups could have helped push the species into decline. At the moment, however, there isn't enough evidence to decide either way. We don't know if the apparent one way gene flow is because it simply wasn't happening, that the breeding was taking place but was unsuccessful, or if the neanderthal genomes we have are unrepresentative. Chris says, as more neanderthal genomes are sequenced, we should be able to see whether any nuclear DNA from Homo sapiens was passed on to Neanderthals and demonstrate whether or not this idea is accurate. Further research could also investigate similar questions relating to another hominin species known as the Denisovians, giving us a greater idea of what of how our species interacted with its closest relatives. So these are the studies, these are the findings given by the scientists on our ancestors, on our people. So, and yes, in last I just wanna say you guys, stay curious, keep researching, stay healthy.